Welcome to English Tale, where emotions speak louder and English becomes natural. If someone had told me 10 years ago that the girl who lent me a pencil in 5th grade would one day become my wife, I would have laughed. But life has a strange way of writing stories, ones you never see coming until you're already living them. Her name was Lily, and she wasn't just my best friend, she was my compass, my calm in chaos, my secret keeper. And for a brief, shining month, she was my wife. We met when I was 10. I had just moved to a new city, and I was scared of everything. New school, new people, new life. On my first day, I sat at the back of the classroom, eyes lowered, trying to disappear. When the teacher asked us to take out our pencils, I realized I'd forgotten mine in the rush of the morning. I felt the heat rise to my cheeks. That's when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned around and saw the most disarming smile I'd ever seen. Lily extended a pencil toward me. "Don't worry," she whispered. "You can keep it. I have another." It was a tiny moment, but it was the beginning of everything. We grew up together, side by side, season after season. While other kids found new best friends every year, Lily and I were inseparable. She wasn't like the other girls. She didn't care about popularity or trends. She was deeply thoughtful, always observing, always caring. She was quiet, but when she spoke, every word mattered. We shared everything. Books, dreams, secrets, fears. I remember one summer night when we were 14, lying on the grass, staring at the stars. "Do you ever think we'll end up with the people we love the longest?" she asked softly. I turned to her, heart pounding, because I had loved her for as long as I could remember. But I was too afraid to say it then. So I just nodded. High school came and went. We were each other's dates to prom. No pressure, no awkwardness, just two best friends dancing under the fairy lights, laughing about how silly we looked. I watched her slow dance with me, her eyes closed, her head resting on my shoulder. I wanted to freeze that moment forever, but college took us to different states. For the first time, we were apart. It was like missing a part of myself. We texted, called, video chatted, but it wasn't the same. We both dated other people. I remember pretending to be okay when she told me about the guy she was seeing during sophomore year. I smiled through the phone, but inside, I was sinking. After graduation, we moved back to our hometown. She had a job at a local NGO, and I started working in tech. We picked up where we left off, almost like the years apart hadn't happened. But something had changed. I began to notice the way she'd glance at me when she thought I wasn't looking. The way her hand would linger on mine just a little too long. And one rainy evening, as we sat on my porch sipping hot chocolate, she whispered, "Do you ever think we wasted time?" "What do you mean?" I asked. "I mean, all those years, all those chances we didn't take." And then she kissed me. I don't remember how long we sat there afterward, silent, stunned, wrapped in the warmth of a kiss that had been waiting to happen for over a decade. From that night on, we were no longer just best friends. We were something more. Something deeper. It felt so natural, so right. We dated for a year. I got to fall in love with her all over again, this time without hiding it. Every little thing she did, the way she bit her lip when she was nervous, the way she danced in the kitchen while cooking, was magic. I was hopelessly, completely, endlessly in love. I proposed to her on the same patch of grass where we used to stargaze. She said yes with tears streaming down her face. We planned a small wedding, just close friends and family. Nothing extravagant, just love, pure and simple. The day she walked down the aisle, I forgot how to breathe. She looked like every dream I'd ever had. When we said, "I do," I knew I was the luckiest man alive. That night, as we lay in bed, her head on my chest, she whispered, "Promise me we'll grow old together." "I promise," I said. But life doesn't always care about promises. The first month of our marriage was bliss. We were still figuring things out. Who gets the left side of the bed, how to divide chores, whose turn it was to do the laundry. But we laughed through it all. Every morning felt like waking up in a dream. Then came the headaches. At first, Lily brushed them off. "It's just stress," she'd say. "I'll be fine." But they got worse. Sharp, sudden pains that would leave her dizzy, nauseous. One morning, I found her collapsed on the bathroom floor. I rushed her to the hospital, heart racing, panic clawing at my chest. The scans came back, and the doctor's face told me everything before he even spoke. It was a tumor, aggressive, fast-growing, terminal. My world shattered. I remember sitting beside her hospital bed, holding her hand, trying to smile while dying inside. "It's going to be okay," I lied. "You don't have to lie to me," she whispered, weak, but still somehow so strong. "I just wish we had more time." The doctors gave her weeks. We got days. I brought her home, set up her favorite flowers. By the bed, played her favorite music. We talked for hours, remembering everything. Childhood games, our first kiss, our wedding day. "I'm not afraid," she told me one night. "Not if you promise me something." "Anything," I said. "Promise. Me, you'll keep living. Really living. Not just surviving." I nodded, choking on tears. "I promise." On the 31st day of our marriage, I held her hand as she took her last breath. It's been months now, but every morning I still wake up and turn to her side of the bed. Sometimes I swear I can hear her humming in the kitchen, smell her favorite, lavender shampoo in the air. I kept her things just the way they were. Some days I open her drawer just to feel close to her. People ask me how I'm doing. I say I'm okay. But the truth is, part of me left with her. After Lily passed, time became a blur. The days moved forward, but I stayed stuck in the 31 days that changed my life forever. Every moment felt like it belonged to a world that no longer existed. I went through the motions, woke up, showered, ate, worked. But I was numb. My body moved, but my heart was elsewhere. It was with her. I remember sitting in the kitchen one night, the light above the stove flickering the way she used to tease me about. Her mug was still there, chipped on, E. One side painted with stars and the words, "Shine On." I held it close to my chest, feeling the faint trace of her warmth, as if the ceramic still remembered her hands. Grief, I've learned, doesn't come in waves. It comes in silence, in the way her toothbrush stayed untouched, in the way I would reach for my phone to text her something funny before remembering she wasn't there to laugh. It came in the smallest things. The smell of her scarf, the song that played during our first dance, the unfinished grocery list with her handwriting that I could never bring myself to erase. Our friends tried to help. They called, they visited, they brought food. But no one really knew what to say. What do you say to a man who lost not just his wife, but the girl he grew up with? My childhood friend, my first love, my forever that lasted only 1 month. There are no words for that kind of loss. One afternoon, I found a notebook, hidden under her side of the bed. It was leather-bound, the kind she always used for journaling. On the first page, in her delicate script, she'd written, for when I'm not here, so you'll know I never stopped loving you." My hands trembled as I turned the pages. She had started writing it just a few days after our wedding, entry after entry, filled with her thoughts, memories, fears, and dreams for the future we were supposed to have. She had written about how happy she was to finally marry her best friend, about how she would watch me when I was asleep and thank the stars that life brought us together. One entry broke me completely. It read, "If I don't make it, please remember this wasn't the end of us. It was just the end of my chapter in your story. I want you to keep writing the rest, with laughter, with courage, with love. And when you fall in love again, because you will, I'll be smiling wherever I am, cheering you on." I wept like a child, because only Lily could think of my future while she was dying. Only she could love me enough to let me go before I was even ready. Her words gave me something I hadn't felt in weeks: permission to breathe again. Not to forget. Never to forget. But to live. I started going on walks again. I visited the places we loved. The lake where we used to feed ducks. The bookstore we'd get lost in for hours. At first it hurt, but slowly the pain began to soften. It became a companion rather than an enemy. It reminded me of how deeply I had loved and had been loved. One evening I returned to that patch of grass where we used to lie under the stars. The sky was clear, just like that night when we were 14. I lay down and looked up, whispering to her like I used to. "I'm still here, Lily, and I'm trying." A breeze swept through the trees, and for a moment I imagined it was her hand brushing mine. Months passed. The seasons changed. Life didn't stop. It never does. But I learned how to carry her memory with me without drowning in it. I started, volunteering at the same NGO she worked at. It made me feel closer to her spirit of kindness and compassion. One day, a little girl at the shelter tugged at my sleeve and said, "Why are you always so quiet?" I smiled and knelt down beside her. Sometimes we remember people we love by being still and listening. She tilted her head and said, "I think your heart is very big, but maybe it's a little broken too." That child's words hit deeper than anything an adult had said to me in months. "Yes," I whispered, "but broken hearts can still love." Over time, I met others who had lost someone too soon. Widows, orphans, parents who'd lost children, people with stories just as painful, just as raw. We shared our grief like survivors of a shipwreck clinging to the same piece of driftwood. In those moments, I didn't feel alone. One rainy afternoon, almost a year after Lily passed, I found myself at our favorite cafe. I ordered her favorite drink, chai with honey and extra cinnamon. As I sat by the window watching raindrops race down the glass, a woman nearby asked if the seat across from me was taken. She looked familiar, not in a physical way, but in the way her eyes held quiet stories. We talked for a bit. Nothing deep, just two strangers sharing space. Her name was Claire. She was a teacher, kind-hearted, soft-spoken, thoughtful. Over the weeks, we ran into each other again. At the library, the farmer's market, the park. It wasn't forced. It wasn't rushed. It was easy. I told her about Lily eventually. I needed her to know. She didn't flinch. She just took my hand and said, "Some people are never meant to be forgotten. But that doesn't mean we can't build something beautiful around what remains." And somehow, I started to believe it. Falling in love again wasn't about replacing Lily. No, one could. But it was about honoring her memory by living the life she wanted for me. Claire understood that. She never tried to compete with the past. She just walked beside me in the present. On the second anniversary of Lily's passing, I returned to that starry field with Claire by my side. We lay down, staring at the sky, and I whispered, "Thank you, Lily, for everything." Claire squeezed my hand, and for the first time in a long while, I didn't cry. I smiled. To the world, I lost my wife after 1 month. But in truth, I had her for a lifetime. Through every stage of my heart's journey, she was my best friend, my first love, my greatest loss, and my everlasting guide. I still wear my wedding ring, not out of grief, but out of gratitude. Because some people come into our lives and change everything. They leave footprints on our soul, and no matter where life leads, we carry their love like a lighthouse through every storm. Lily was my lighthouse. And because of her, I learned that love doesn't end. It transforms. It lives on, in memory, in kindness, in every moment we choose to keep going. I kept my promise. I lived for her, and now for me.